The Silent Observers. The Galactic Assembly had existed for over 12 millennia. Comprised of 342 species from across the Milky Way, it represented the pinnacle of cooperative civilization. They had mastered faster-than-light travel, eliminated resource scarcity, cured diseases that once plagued their worlds, and established a complex political system that maintained peace across thousands of star systems. Their technological advancements seemed limitless, their diplomatic protocols flawless. The Assembly's central chamber on the artificial ring world of Nexus Prime hosted representatives who debated in measured tones about trade routes and cultural exchange programs. Humanity's first contact with the Assembly occurred almost by accident, when the ESA Pathfinder detected the quantum signature of an Assembly monitoring station at the edge of the Sol system in 2157. Earth had barely established its first colonies on Mars and Europa. The subsequent diplomatic delegation sent by Earth United Government seemed laughably primitive to most Assembly species. Humans were granted observer status, a polite way of acknowledging their existence while denying them any meaningful voice. Commander Ilara Reed remembered that day clearly as she stood on the observation deck of the EDF Resilience. 8 years had passed since that initial contact, and humanity had learned much, advancing their technology by reverse engineering scattered Assembly artifacts, shared as cultural gifts. The stars streaked by at FTL speeds as her vessel led a small fleet toward the recently established Meridian colony. Commander, her XO, Lieutenant Marcus Chen, approached with a grim expression. "We're receiving distress signals from Meridian. Multiple signals, all cut short." Ilara's spine stiffened. "Show me." The holographic display flickered to life, showing the Meridian system. Red warning indicators blinked around the colony planet, and several unidentified vessels appeared as threatening markers in orbit. "Unknown configuration," Chen reported, but energy signatures match Kralaxian technology. The Kralaxians, one of the middle-tier powers within the Assembly, known for their territorial expansion, but always careful to stay within the Assembly's complex legal framework. Until now, apparently. "How long until we arrive?" Ilara asked. 3 hours, Commander. "Push the engines to maximum. I want us there in 2. When the EDF fleet dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Meridian system, Ilara's worst fears were confirmed. The colony, home to nearly 40,000 human settlers, was in ruins. Orbital bombardment had targeted major population centers, reducing them to smoking craters. 6 Kralaxian warships maintained position in high orbit, their distinctive blade-like hulls gleaming in the light of Meridian's sun. "They're hailing us," Chen reported, his voice tight with controlled rage. The main viewscreen displayed a Kralaxian officer, their segmented exoskeleton and compound eyes, giving them an insectoid appearance despite their mammalian evolution. Human vessels, the Kralaxian's translator rendered in slightly stilted English. "This system is now under Kralaxian protection. Your unauthorized colony violated buffer zone agreements established with the Assembly. We have enforced compliance. Depart immediately." Ilara's hands gripped the command rail until her knuckles whitened. 40,000 civilians. Children. Families. This was a research outpost and agricultural settlement. Irrelevant. The Assembly's territorial accords. "Put me through to Assembly Central," Ilara cut in, addressing her communications officer. Within moments, the holographic projection of High Arbiter's ex-Toral of the Assembly appeared. The tall, willowy being's expression remained neutral as Ilara explained the situation, presenting visual evidence of the devastation below. "Most unfortunate," the Arbiter responded after a lengthy pause. "However, our records indicate the Meridian system falls within a disputed region. The Kralaxian Empire filed their intent to enforce buffer zone regulations 6 standard cycles ago. Your government was notified." "We received no such notification," Ilara countered. "And even if we had, this response is disproportionate genocide. The Assembly cannot intervene in territorial enforcement actions when proper procedures have been filed," the Arbiter continued, as if reciting from a manual. We suggest you withdraw your forces and pursue compensation through the appropriate judicial channels. The process typically requires only 30 to 50 Earth years to resolve. Ilara felt something shift inside her, a cold rage crystallizing into resolve. So the assembly stands by while an entire human colony is massacred and offers us paperwork as consolation. Commander Reed, the Arbiter's tone took on a note of warning. Humanity's observer status within the assembly is contingent upon adherence to established protocols. Any unilateral action against the Kralaxian Empire would jeopardize that status. The transmission ended, leaving Ilara staring at the blank screen. Around her, the bridge crew waited in tense silence. "Orders, Commander," Chen asked quietly. Ilara turned to face her crew, seeing in their eyes the same cold fury that burned within her. "Contact Earth. I want all available vessels recalled from their current assignments and redirected to these coordinates. Then scan the Kralaxian ships. I want detailed analysis of their defensive systems, weapons configurations, and vulnerabilities." "Commander," her tactical officer spoke up, "with all due respect, we're outgunned 6-4, and their technology is superior to ours." Ilara's smile held no warmth. "Superior technology means little against superior motivation, Lieutenant. The Assembly and the Kralaxians believe we're primitive newcomers who will back down when threatened. They don't understand what happens when humans are pushed too far." Over the next 72 hours, Earth's scattered defense fleet converged on their position. 23 ships in total. Everything humanity could muster from across their handful of colonies. Not an impressive force by Assembly standards, but every captain and crew shared the same grim determination. Ilara gathered her senior officers and the captains of the other vessels in the Resilience's war room. The holographic projection displayed the Kralaxian vessels still orbiting Meridian, along with detailed scans of their systems. "Their shield modulation changes on a rotating frequency," Ilara explained, highlighting various points on the Kralaxian flagship. "But there's a 3-second vulnerability during each cycle. Their weapons draw power directly from their main reactors, creating momentary surges we can detect before they fire. And most importantly, they consider us technologically primitive and tactically predictable." Captain Riza of the EDF Intrepid leaned forward. "You're suggesting we can exploit these weaknesses, even with our technological disadvantage?" "I'm not suggesting it," Ilara replied. "I'm counting on it. The Assembly believes we'll retreat and file paperwork. The Kralaxians believe we lack the capability to challenge them. Neither understands what humanity is capable of when provoked." She activated another holographic display, showing not just Meridian, but the entire regional sector of space. "This isn't just about revenge for one colony. This is about humanity's future among the stars. If we retreat now, we'll always be seen as weak, easy targets for any ambitious species looking to expand their territory." "What exactly are you proposing, Commander?" asked Captain Torres of the EDF Dauntless. Ilara's eyes hardened. "Something the Assembly doesn't have protocols for. Something that will make every species think twice before attacking humans again." She zoomed the display to focus on a particular system. "We start here, at the Kralaxian outpost in the Vega sector. Not a military target, a mining operation with minimal defenses. We take it intact, along with all its technology and resources." "And then?" prompted Captain Riza. "Then we move to their forward military base at Proxion. By the time they realize what's happening, we'll have already adapted their own technology and turned it against them." Ilara looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each officer. "We're going to do what humans have always done best: adapt, improvise, and overcome. The Assembly thinks in terms of millennia. We need to show them what humans can accomplish in days." The room fell silent as her plan sank in. Finally, Captain Torres spoke. "This goes beyond retaliation, Commander. This is war, possibly against not just the Kralaxians, but the entire Assembly if they choose to intervene." "They had their chance to intervene," Ilara replied, her voice steady. "They chose rules over justice. Now they can witness the consequences of that choice. She straightened, addressing the entire room. I'm not ordering anyone to follow this course. Each of you can return to Earth if you choose. But I intend to show the Kralaxians, and the entire assembly, that humanity will not be dismissed, will not be victimized, and will not be underestimated ever again. One by one, the captains voiced their support. The decision was unanimous. As the meeting concluded, Lieutenant Chen remained behind. Commander, even if we succeed, this changes everything. Humanity's place in the galaxy, our relationship with every other species. Ilara nodded, looking out at the stars beyond the viewscreen. Sometimes, Lieutenant, change is necessary. The Assembly has maintained their version of peace for thousands of years, but at what cost? How many other emerging species have been treated as we have? How many civilizations have been sacrificed in the name of their protocols? She turned to face him, determination etched in every line of her face. The galaxy is about to learn what happens when humanity stops asking for a seat at the table and starts building our own. The wrath unleashed. The Kralaxian mining outpost at Vega fell in less than 6 hours. They never expected an attack, especially not from humans, whom they considered barely spacefaring primitives. The small defense fleet was caught with shields down, half their crew on shore leave on the orbital habitats. Commander Reed's forces struck with precision, disabling rather than destroying Kralaxian vessels, capturing their technology intact. Within the first day, Earth technicians were already reverse engineering Kralaxian shield systems. By the third day, they had adapted the technology to human vessels. The Assembly had never witnessed such rapid technological assimilation. Most species took decades to incorporate new advancements into their civilizations. Ilara stood on the bridge of the Resilience, now augmented with Kralaxian shield generators and power systems. The ship hummed with energy outputs never before achieved by human engineering. Kralaxian communiques intercepted. Commander reported her communications officer. They're requesting Assembly intervention, claiming we violated technological sovereignty protocols. And the Assembly's response. They're convening an emergency session. Estimated deliberation time. 2 standard weeks. Ilara smiled grimly. By then, we'll be at their forward military base at Proxion. She turned to Chen. Is the fleet ready? All 23 ships retrofitted with Kralaxian shield technology, Commander. The captured Kralaxian vessels are under our control as well, crewed with volunteer teams. Then let's proceed to Phase 2. The Proxion military base was a different matter entirely. Unlike the mining outpost, it was well defended, hosting a Kralaxian battle fleet of 30 vessels. But what the Kralaxians couldn't comprehend was the speed of human adaptation. In the week since the mining outpost's capture, human engineers had not only mastered Kralaxian shield technology, but improved upon it. The battle for Proxion lasted 3 days. The human fleet took losses, 7 ships destroyed, 5 severely damaged. But the Kralaxian defenders were utterly defeated. Their rigid battle doctrine, unchanged for centuries, proved no match for human tactical flexibility. Human ships would deliberately power down systems to appear crippled, luring Kralaxian vessels into traps. They used mining equipment captured from Vega to create impromptu gravity wells that disrupted Kralaxian formation protocols. When the Proxion base finally surrendered, Ilara ordered all prisoners treated with respect, but she also ensured that recordings of the battle were transmitted across all Assembly communication channels. Let them see what humanity was capable of. On the 4th day after Proxion's capture, a diplomatic vessel from the Assembly arrived, requesting parley. High Arbiter Xextoral himself requested permission to board the Resilience. Ilara received him in the ship's conference room, now modified with components salvaged from Kralaxian technology. The Arbiter's normally impassive features couldn't hide his shock at seeing how quickly humans had adapted alien tech to their own purposes. Commander Reed, the Arbiter began, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into English. The Assembly formally requests an immediate cessation of hostilities against the Kralaxian Empire. Interesting, Ilara replied, leaning back in her chair. When the Kralaxians massacred 40,000 human civilians, the Assembly offered paperwork. Now that humans demonstrate effective resistance, suddenly the Assembly is concerned about hostilities. The situation has evolved, the Arbiter admitted. Your species' rapid technological adaptation was unanticipated. The Assembly's models predicted your response would follow established patterns of emerging civilizations. Instead, we've refused to play by rules designed to keep us weak. Ilara finished for him. Rules that protect established powers while sacrificing newcomers. The Arbiter's translucent membranes flickered, a sign of distress in his species. The Assembly maintains balance across hundreds of civilizations, Commander. Without our protocols, the galaxy would descend into chaos. Your version of balance allowed the slaughter of an entire human colony, Ilara countered. Perhaps your protocols need revision. What do you want, Commander? The Arbiter asked directly. Restitution can be arranged for Meridian. The Kralaxian leadership responsible can be sanctioned. Ilara stood, activating a holographic display showing the galactic map, with human territories highlighted. What we want is recognition. Humanity will no longer accept observer status. We demand full Assembly membership, with all rights and protections that entails. The Meridian system and all territories within 5 light years will be recognized as sovereign human space, and the Kralaxians will provide technological reparations for their attack. This is unprecedented, the Arbiter protested. So was the speed of our response. Ilara replied evenly. The Assembly faces a choice, Arbiter. Recognize humanity as equals, or watch as we continue to demonstrate why we deserve that recognition. The implications hung in the air between them. The human fleet, now augmented with captured Kralaxian technology, was already preparing for their next target, the Kralaxian homeworld itself. I will convey your terms to the Assembly, the Arbiter finally said. You have 24 hours, Ilara informed him. After that, we continue our campaign. After the Arbiter departed, Lieutenant Chen approached. Do you think they'll agree? They'll agree, Ilara said confidently. The Assembly's power relies on the perception that their rules are inviolable. We shattered that perception. Now they need to either adapt or admit their system is flawed. She was right. 18 hours later, the Assembly transmitted their acceptance of all human terms. An official ceremony would be held on Nexus Prime to welcome humanity as full members of the Galactic Assembly. The Kralaxian Empire would provide reparations and acknowledge human territorial sovereignty. 3 weeks later, Ilara stood in the vast chamber of the Assembly on Nexus Prime, wearing her formal Earth Defense Force uniform. Representatives from hundreds of species watched as humanity was formally inducted as the Assembly's newest full member. High Arbiter Zextoral performed the ceremony, but Ilara noted the subtle changes in how other species regarded the humans in attendance. No longer were they viewed with condescension as primitive newcomers. Now their glances held caution, respect, and in some cases, unmistakable fear. As the ceremony concluded, the Arbiter approached Ilara privately. You've changed the balance of power in ways we don't yet fully understand, Commander. Sometimes balance needs disruption to find a better equilibrium, she replied. Perhaps, the Arbiter conceded. But I must ask, now that humanity has demonstrated its capabilities, what are your intentions going forward? Ilara considered the question carefully. Humanity doesn't seek dominance, Arbiter. We seek fairness. Protection for the weak against the strong. Justice, not just rules. If the Assembly can provide those things, we'll be the strongest allies you've ever known. And if not? The Arbiter asked quietly. Ilara met his gaze steadily. Then we'll continue to do what humans have always done throughout our history. Change the rules until they work for everyone. As she departed the chamber, Ilara knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy had existed in an artificial stasis for far too long, with established powers maintaining their position, while newcomers struggled for recognition. Humanity had broken that pattern, and in doing so, had changed the course of galactic history. The universe had never known what it meant to fear until humanity showed what they were capable of when provoked. But fear was only the beginning. Now came the harder part: earning trust, building alliances, and reshaping the assembly into something truly just. The stars waited, and humanity's journey among them had only just begun.